Yeah, they're brought you over. I'm Tina, and this is Jace. He's 9 years old. He was born in April of 2004. He was born normal weight at 6 pounds, 4 ounces. He was perfectly normal baby, cute as cute could be. Absolutely no sign of anything being different about Jace or anything. It wasn't until probably about 3 weeks old that I had an onset of crying. And when I say an onset of crying, I mean he started to cry non-stop. And he would exhaust himself after about 2 days, and then he would finally fall asleep. We tried everything. Heating pad, colic medicine, you name it, we were trying it. Took him to the pediatrician. I stated that I had had a baby before, and this was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And the pediatrician said, he's just colic, he's fine, take him home, everything will be just fine. I left the doctor's office in tears, thinking to myself, I can't do this one more day. And we did. Not only did I do it one more day, I did it months. Jace continued to not make milestones. He continued to scream and cry. 3 weeks later, I took him back to the pediatrician and said, I think something is very, very wrong. This can't be right. He is crying way too much. Once again, they diagnosed him colic, said, take him home, do the best you can. Maybe quit breastfeeding. That's exactly what I did. I took him to a gentle formula, slowly transitioned him to that. 3 weeks later, still nothing. I decided I was going to go to a different pediatrician, but within the same group. So scheduled my pediatrician appointment, took him to the doctor. We're probably 3 months in now. Still no change, nothing. Pediatrician says he's fine. He's just colic, he'll grow out of it soon enough. We continue to go. Now, Jace is not grabbing anything. He's not showing normal development as far as, you know, reaching for toys or putting rattles in his mouth. The only thing that was consistent was this unbelievable happiness, this grin that was ear to ear and undeniably just joy coming out of him. So it kind of gave me comfort to think, you know, in your mother's heart, your gut is saying something's wrong, but the joy kind of put me in denial that something was really happening that was really strong inside of him. And took him to the new pediatrician. Pediatrician saw him, was not concerned with his weight, was not concerned with his size, was not concerned with the crying. Once again, he's colic, take him home. Took him home. About 6 months old, he still had 0 body tone. And what that means is that he's not bearing weight on his legs. He's not sitting. He's very floppy in his motions. He was holding his head up when he was on his belly, but that was about all he could do. At about 6 months old, he still wasn't gaining weight. He wasn't a fat baby at all. He was thin. I was really concerned. All of my sister-in-laws had babies within weeks of me having a baby. Their babies were sitting, and some of them were even crawling already. So I knew something was really wrong. I decided to change pediatricians' offices and get a second opinion, and I did. So we go to the second pediatrician's appointment, and I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen here? And the pediatrician walks into the room, sees Jace, and immediately is like, oh my gosh, this baby is way too thin. I'm going to hospitalize you right away. We're going to have an ambulance transport you. And that's when my tailspin started. I knew something was seriously awry. So we're admitted to the hospital. Jace is now 6, almost 7 months old. He weighs under 12 pounds. And is very, very frail. So we were then diagnosed failure to thrive in Children's Hospital. They then diagnosed him with severe acid reflux, and we are put on acid reflux medicine and a couple of other stomach medicines to go ahead and combat that, and we go into like a nutrient absorption process. Now the food journal starts. It was all consuming. It was everything I did. How many calories went in? What was in this? Is he holding it down? How many ounces did the diaper weigh when they came out? How many days? And that's when it just really was all about getting Jace fat. We were in and out of the hospital for failure to thrive. We finally got medications, fluctuated just right to where he slowly started to gain weight. He sat at about 18 months old. Now during this whole process, they automatically refer you to what is a Nevada Early Interventions, because I'm in a big city. I'm in Las Vegas, so they refer us to Nevada Early Interventions. You go onto a waiting list, and so you wait for somebody to come to your home and you start therapies. Since I am in a big city, you're on a waiting list to see a developmental specialist through that program. So we just continued through therapies. Jace is gaining weight, he's doing well, but he's still not making milestones like I think he should be. And they tell me, no, don't worry, it'll start, you know, everything like that. So I'm on the waiting list. We're waiting to see the developmental specialist. We're seeing speech, we're seeing occupational therapy. We're doing all of our therapies 3 times a week, counting calories, doing everything that we can possibly do. And he still just wasn't making milestones. He wasn't sitting yet. He wasn't doing what he should be doing. So we wait, and we see the developmental specialist at about 18 months old. And that's when Jace first started sitting. I think he was almost 2. We started sitting and everything, so we go into the doctor's office and we do the consultation and everything. And at the end of the meeting of her consultation, she says, I think I know what this is. And that is the first I heard that somebody thought that this was something. This whole time, no one had sought answers for us. It was my gut saying something's different, something's wrong. My pediatrician had never suggested a genetic test. Even in and out of Children's Hospital, no one said, like, maybe you should have a genetic test done or anything. It was treat what they were treating, which was failure to thrive, and move on. So she says, I think that I know what this is. And that was the first time I heard Angelman syndrome. She says, do me a favor, don't go home, don't Google it. I said, okay, you'll be scared. I said, okay, I won't. And I did. I went home and I Googled it, and I was scared. And every single characteristic that was on the website, Jace had. In my heart of hearts, I knew it. I said, this is it. This is it. This is our answer. We found it. This is what our Jace has. So we waited for genetic testing, and the counselor told me what I should have him tested for. So we had a fish test. So the pediatrician does the fish test, and they contact us 6 weeks later and tell me they have results. Let's go ahead and schedule an appointment. So we go for our appointment, and the pediatrician tells me that Jace is positive for the deletion of chromosome 15, which meant Jace had Angelman syndrome. So Jace is almost 3 now. It's taken this long for us to get answers, and yet I am now going to go on a waiting list for the geneticist, which in our state is over a year long. So now we are diagnosed with Angelman syndrome, waiting on our geneticist test. When I go to see the pediatrician after my diagnosis is when they're telling me everything that Jace won't do. He won't walk, he will never care for himself, he will never this, he will never that. Basically, the way he is the way he's going to be forever. Just take him home and love him. And that was devastating as a mom. I couldn't understand that. The only way I can describe it is I went into mourning. I mourned everything that he was not going to do. I'm happy to say they were wrong. They were really, really wrong. My son is beyond anything that they ever told me. He started walking at about 3 and a half, almost 4 years old, and once that happened, the world was his oyster. Forget it. He stopped working so hard on his motor skills, because up until 3 he was really working hard just to sit and stand and walk, and So we didn't really see the mental capacity of him until he started walking. Once he really started walking, he found this unbelievable independence that catapulted his world to want to really join our world in a way that we had never seen before. So, you know, we really pushed Jace. We really tried to treat Jace as normal as we potentially could in our family. So then I started to seek other families. This is before the internet era, you know, before networking was really, really strong, and it wasn't so easily as accessible. So I really tried to find families, and so I found families through the internet, through the Angelman Syndrome Foundation. And that is when I made contact with another mother, Grace. Her son was the exact same age as my son. And Grace and I meet immediately. We are sisters, and our children are exactly the same. It was so creepy and yet so comforting at the same time. You know, it's like brothers from another mother, and there's this unspoken bond that's like, hey, I live your world. Hey, you live my world. That's pretty cool. And then we reached out, we found another mother, Patricia, and her son was 11. And Grace and I go to meet her son, Christian, who's completely independent. I mean, you want to talk about an eye-opening experience. We went to his birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, and he was playing all of the toys and maneuvering all of these things, and was just unlike anything Grace and I thought we could ever imagine that our children would be, which then gave us this fire to do what we could do, to start a support group in our city, to join us all together, to find information. And we're still doing that. We're still those exact same people 5-6 years later. We're still a family that loves each other wholly, and I couldn't be more grateful. So my advice to anyone watching this that has this gut, that something just isn't adding up, do not listen to that. Follow your gut. If your baby is not making milestones, it is not the medical community's responsibility to figure out what is going on. That is ultimately your child, and my advice to you is to seek that out. Go get a second opinion. Don't be worried about insurance companies and how your pediatrician's going to feel because they've been your pediatrician for 6 years. I totally trusted my pediatrician that took care of my first son, and they were completely off point. We could have probably detected something a lot earlier had they been more diligent in seeking answers for all of Jace's symptoms. I was naive that they would do that for me. I didn't think like, well, he's got this, and he's got this, and he's got this, and he's got this. Well, all of that adds up to one thing. And when that happened, it changed everything for us. So follow your gut. Seek out any answers that you can get. It's only going to benefit you. And with the way that the medical community is advancing just since Jace has been diagnosed, I think that it's going to be a lot easier of a journey for women if we all just kind of trust our own instincts. I think that that's what I didn't do. For a very long time, I knew in my gut something was really, really, really different about Jace. And when they would tell me like, oh, it's just colic, I'm not gonna lie, the mother's heart in me found comfort in that. And even though I went home crying because I felt like I didn't get answers, I was like, well, the doctors are saying it's just colic, just go home. Or it's just failure to thrive, just go home. So that would be my advice to anybody who has anything that's just off. But Jace is 9 now, and he's thriving. His communication is coming along immensely. He is really seeking out his own independence. He's feeding himself. He is toilet training. He is, every day he amazes me at his perseverance to join our world. It's a lot of work, but when they get it, because you work it, it's the most beautiful gift you can ever imagine. Watching my son pucker his lips, because it's something we've been working on to work on straw skills. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And being Jace's mom has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Right here. This is your chair. No, I'm not your chair. Okay. Am I your chair? I am, Mama. I love you. Okay.